Okay, so today we twin sisters are going to compare the two best flagship phones in the world right now, the Samsung Galaxy S26 Ultra and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. I am Team Samsung and well, she is the ultimate iSheep. Call me an iSheep all you want, but this year the iPhone 17 Pro Max absolutely crushes the S26 Ultra. The overall experience that I have had for the last 6 months with my 17 Pro Max has been pretty solid. I really like the updated 18 megapixel selfie camera. The battery life has gotten so much better this year, and there's also this new 4x telephoto camera that is just so good. I just don't understand the hate. There are actually pretty neat upgrades this year with the iPhone compared to the honestly boring S26 Ultra. Boring? I don't think so. Because although the S26 Ultra might look similar to the S25 Ultra, there are a lot of quality of life changes Samsung has made with this phone. Unlike the iPhone 17 Pro Max's controversies since its launch, for example, there have been like a ton of color fading issues on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which Apple seriously does not seem to care about. On the other hand, Samsung has actually made the S26 Ultra one of the best feeling flagship phones right now. The S26 Ultra is now lighter and more ergonomic than before. And if you're wondering how, that's by removing the traditional periscope lens and introducing something called ALOP, all lenses on prism. By placing the lens directly on top of the prism, Samsung has reduced the size of the camera module on the S26 Ultra. So the S26 Ultra, despite being such a big device, does not feel heavy at all. In fact, it's 20 grams lighter than the iPhone 17 Pro Max, which is a noticeable difference. And let's not forget, Samsung is still fitting this S Pen inside the phone. Traditionally, to accommodate the S Pen, Samsung had to keep the design boxy with sharp edges, but now we get a more rounded curves in the corners, which makes it feel more balanced and easier to hold. So yeah, it's actually more comfortable than the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Plus, on the front, this privacy display just feels like magic. The ability for people to not see what's going on your screen is honestly a game changer. Plus, I didn't expect it to work so well, especially the app-specific privacy block options. I think this is one of those exclusive features that you get right now, and it's pure innovation. Hold on a minute, stop hyping up the privacy display so much. I have actually used it, and honestly, I find it a bit gimmicky because the moment you turn it on, the display quality drops massively. It almost feels like you're using the cheap knockoff Samsung phones. And if we talk about the actual display quality, the iPhone is brighter. It also has Dolby Vision support, which Samsung still does not offer. I mean, we all know why, right? Samsung is heavily invested in HDR10+, so they don't bring Dolby Vision to their phones. And the app level optimization on the iPhone is just so much better. Take apps like Sony Live, for example. On many Android phones, including the S26 Ultra, the Sony Live app does not even support 720p playback properly, while on the iPhone, it plays at full HD. And apart from that, the speakers on the iPhone 17 Pro Max are just noticeably better. The bass from the iPhone speakers just sounds deeper and richer compared to what Samsung offers. So yes, the privacy display is a new feature. You might use it occasionally, but honestly, how often are you going to use it in real life? It might improve in the future, but right now, I don't think it really enhances the overall experience. Typical iPhone user, it's always so difficult to argue with you guys. But tell me this, can you defend the lack of AI on the iPhone? I mean, the gap is really obvious right now. On Samsung, AI just keeps getting better and better with every new Galaxy launch, and then there are so many things that you can actually do with it. For example, you can simply type a prompt and generate or edit images however you like. You have Gemini integration, and it's actually really good. There are so many things that you can do with Samsung's AI. Meanwhile, on the iPhone, just look at Siri. It's almost a joke at this point. Yeah, I mean, all these AI features are nice to have, but let's be honest, at the end of the day, you can install Gemini yourself. And coming in 2026, there are just so many AI apps available that you can download and get the same things Samsung is offering. And honestly, I think many of these AI features are kind of meaningless. The AI slop is actually making the RAM and SSD prices go up. And tell me this, how many of these AI features do you actually use in your real life? And even if you want to use AI, use it to improve your productivity. Get a Gemini Pro subscription or use Claude, Perplexity or ChatGPT. Learn prompt engineering, learn how to actually use these AI tools properly, and that can genuinely improve your workflow and productivity. That's what I personally do on my phone. Instead of relying on small quality of life AI features on the Galaxy S26 Ultra, I'd rather use full AI apps. Okay, you want to talk about productivity, right? So can your iPhone do this? I can literally plug this phone into a monitor and get a full PC-like experience using the latest DeX. And this year, DeX experience feels so much smoother and the multitasking has improved a lot. In fact, if you're someone who mainly writes content, watches movies or browses the web, you might not even need a laptop anymore. You can just buy a monitor, plug in this phone and use it like a PC. And since you're talking about productivity, let's also talk about the S Pen. This S Pen is just fantastic for productivity. You can quickly write notes, sketch ideas, or mark things up, which is actually very useful for a lot of people. Your iPhone can only dream of doing that, and if you want a stylus with Apple, you actually have to buy an iPad. And let me also talk about performance, because that's something Apple always used to brag about. But now if you look at the single core performance, it's almost neck and neck between Samsung and Apple. And when it comes to multi-core performance and the GPU performance, the S26 Ultra is actually ahead of the iPhone 17 Pro Max. Even in terms of usability, I personally prefer the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor over Face ID. I think a fingerprint sensor is simply more intuitive. And the overall One UI 8.5 experience on my S26 Ultra is just flawless. The icons look much better now, the interface feels so polished, and everything runs super fast. There was a time when iPhone clearly had the best software experience, but with the iOS 26, come on, there have been quite a lot of bugs and annoying glitches. Apple was never really known for that before, but lately those issues have started showing up. So yeah, right now I feel Samsung software is actually more stable. Oh, these Android nerds and their benchmarks and numbers, it never gets old, does it? Yes, I understand that iOS 26 was kind of a frustrating journey at first, but I think most of those problems have now been solved. If you look at real-world usage, the level of app optimization on the iPhone is something Android, even Samsung, still can't fully match. For example, just yesterday I wanted to send a video directly through the Messenger app to my friend. On the S26 Ultra, I could only use the main camera from inside the Messenger app. But on the iPhone, I can use the ultra-wide camera, I can use the main camera, or even the telephoto camera directly from the app. And yes, you were showing me the GPU benchmark numbers, right? Which it doesn't really mean anything. This year, the iPhone has introduced a vapor chamber cooling system, which is a big upgrade for Apple. Sure, Samsung has had vapor chamber cooling for years now, and this year they've even added another thermal layer with thermal paste. But in my 1-hour PUBG test, I actually found the iPhone stayed cooler by about a degree or two. And most importantly, the gaming performance and overall fluidity in PUBG felt smoother on the iPhone. That's exactly why if you watch professional PUBG or Free Fire tournaments, most of the pro players are using iPhones. Even for streaming while gaming, the iPhone tends to be much more stable. So honestly, benchmarks don't really mean much. What really matters is optimization, and that's where the iPhone still does an exceptionally better job. Oh, optimization, optimization, optimization. You know what? With the S26 Ultra, Samsung has really optimized its camera game this year. They haven't upgraded the camera sensor that much, just like Apple, but the back camera photos are just better optimized than the iPhones. I was out on a photo walk the other day testing both of these phones, and I have to admit, both of these phones take very good photos. The wide and the ultra-wide shots are great, and both phones capture excellent portraits and up to 10x zoom shots. But it's really about those little things where Samsung is just better at. For example, one thing I noticed is that Samsung has just improved the glare and lens flare management significantly this year. On the iPhone, you still see quite a bit of glare and flare in both photos and videos, but on Samsung, it's almost non-existent. Another thing is skin tones in portrait photos. The iPhone almost always adds that slightly warm yellowish tone to the skin, which does not look very natural. Sometimes it almost gives subjects that jaundiced look, whereas Samsung skin tones look much more neutral and natural, and overall the portrait looks really good. Even when it comes to the telephoto lens, yes, Samsung is no longer using the traditional periscope setup this time, but the zoom photos still look really impressive. So overall, I would say that photography-wise, the camera experience on the S26 Ultra is better than the iPhone 17 Pro Max this year. Plus, Samsung has also added some really cool video features, like there is horizon lock, which means even if you move your hand like this while recording, the video still stays perfectly leveled and stable. It's also one of the first phones to support APV codec, which allows you to record near lossless HDR video. And another feature that I really like is that Samsung also lets you preview LUTs in real time. So you can apply a LUT and instantly see the color grading preview while recording. There are also some built-in cinematic LUT profiles, which make the workflow so much easier. So overall, Samsung has really stepped up its camera game this year. Alright, I agree. When it comes to photography, I'll give that to Samsung. They have done a really good job fixing the glare management issues this year, but when it comes to video quality, the iPhone is clearly ahead. Samsung videos still have that over-sharpening going on, and sometimes the exposure control, the dynamic range just isn't as impressive as the iPhone. Even simple things like switching between the lenses while recording work so much smoothly on the iPhone to this date. And if you look at the ultra-wide video, it's noticeably wider on the iPhone. It almost feels like an action camera style ultra-wide shot. On the Samsung, the ultra-wide videos just aren't as wide. The slow-mo videos, the cinematic videos are also much better on the iPhone. And you were talking about log videos and LUTs, right? Well, the iPhone's ProRes video recording is just the gold standard. In fact, some actual movies have been shot on iPhones. Even the 2025 F1 movie had sequences shot using iPhone's camera sensors. So when it comes to videos, you can't really argue much against the iPhone. And you mentioned the back cameras being more refined on the S26 Ultra. But what about the selfie camera? Samsung did not even try to improve the selfie camera much this year. Whereas on the iPhone, you get that new 18 megapixel front camera, which is the best on any smartphone right now. It's wider, you can shoot 16:9 videos directly from the front camera like this, which is great for things like vlogging. Both selfie photos and videos look much better on the iPhone. So if you look at the overall camera experience, photo plus video, I would still say the iPhone delivers a better package. Yes, in some cases like zoom or portrait, Samsung might be slightly better, but if I had to rate the cameras overall, I would still say that the iPhone is a better all-rounder. Okay, let's agree to disagree. But one of the great things about this year's S26 Ultra is that now we get 60-watt fast charging support, which is noticeably faster than the iPhone. And I know what you're going to say next. You're probably going to talk about the Apple ecosystem, right? But look, I am using the Galaxy S26 Ultra and I also have the Galaxy Buds 4 Pro with me, and honestly, these are really good. In my opinion, even better than AirPods. And this year's Galaxy Watch 8 series is also really impressive. So yeah, I don't think the ecosystem advantage is as big as it used to be because Samsung's ecosystem products have been getting better and better every year. You must be kidding, right? Because there is no real ecosystem with Samsung. You have to admit that Samsung's Windows laptops are kind of like cheap knockoffs compared to what the MacBook offers. And now with the new MacBook Neo, which Apple has launched at such an affordable price, I think a lot of Windows users might actually start switching to the newer MacBooks. And once people start using a MacBook, the chances of them getting an iPhone become even higher. That's basically what Apple does so well. Everything fits together perfectly. And the way Apple devices talk to each other and work with each other, it's something Samsung can only dream of right now. And you were talking about fast charging, right? But do you know that Samsung hasn't really upgraded its battery capacity significantly for more than 7 years now? Meanwhile, the iPhone's battery is now actually bigger than the one on the S26 Ultra. And if you look at most of the battery tests, the iPhone often lasts longer than the S26 Ultra. Another thing I really don't understand is why Samsung still does not include MagSafe style magnetic charging on its phones. Even Google Pixel phones now support it. A Samsung executive from the mobile division said their internal research showed that around 83% of Samsung users already use protective cases on their phones. So instead of putting magnetic rings inside the phone, Samsung decided to integrate the magnets into the official cases instead. That was their reasoning, which honestly sounds pretty funny. Oh please, everybody uses a cover on their flagship phone.
What do you
No
mean?
one
I
is
use
leaving
my
it just
phone
like
without
that
a
because
cover. I
it's
don't
an
have
expensive
dents, I don't
device.
have
Everybody
anything.
puts
I
a cover.
use
Do you know how many
magnetic
dents,
charger
videos
like
of
this.
dents
If you
are
don't
there
use it,
on the
just
iPhone, on
don't
the internet?
tell.
One eternity later.
This is what happens when you put two of me in a single room. Anyway, I'm not like that.
I think Canon is better than Sony.
What?